See? Squid just hate me, that's what it is. On that orange lure, first, yeah, pink one, first cast.
Yeah, first cast on a pinky.
Hey!
Well, good evening and welcome to Sea Fishing with CJ. Down on the beach, but something slightly different tonight. I've got two rods out, I'll turn out so you can see them, which are set up for ray because you see Neil fishing there. He had a nice ray off here last night. So I've got two rods set up for ray, but really the reason I'm here is actually to get some more squid. Now I'm trying something slightly different tonight. I'll show you what I'm trying. I've got a light beach caster. It's an Achios Airlight because I want to be able to chuck it out a bit further because we're trying it in daylight at the moment, and so the squid are a little bit further out probably. And I've got, it's a weighted jig on the bottom. So there's a bit of weight, it's lead, and then I've got two non-weighted jigs above it, a pink and an orange. Just had a practice cast, first cast, and I had a squid. So here we go, let me show you the squid. So it worked, and the squid are there. So I had this boy. Beauty. So we'll have another go with that. I've swapped because like the other night when I was down here, they were all falling to this pink one. Nothing on any other jig. So I've got a small, it's actually smaller orange above it now. So let's try that. Let's see what happens. Now the beauty of this rod is I can get out. I've got a bit further reach with it. Albeit it's not a very heavy lead. You don't want a really heavy lead because you don't want it to sink too fast. So hopefully this lead will go down, but the two little jigs will slow down the sink. But it certainly goes out well. But twice the distance you get with a lure rod. So into reasonably deep water. And then, as we were saying the other day, it's a very slow retrieve. I'm not waiting for it to get to the bottom. I'm retrieving as soon as it's hit the water and I've got myself settled down. It's on the bottom now. I can feel it dragging along the bottom. I can feel that jig on the bottom, which is good. Hopefully those two little floaty jigs are going to be just above the bottom, just like a little startle fish. Whoa, that's had a touch then, just had a touch then. You keep going right to the margins because sometimes they come in quite right into the edge. There are little fish topping, so there is a lot of bait fishing here at the moment, which is what the squid are probably here chasing after. I was thinking about putting some sort of lead at the bottom, and I went into the tackle box in Brighton Marina today just to see if I could get any more squid jigs, and they had these little lead jigs on the wall, and I thought, oh, ideal, perfect. Water is gin clear. That's the other thing you need for squid fishing. You want clear water, and it is gin. I can see 5 feet down in the water, see the bottom. It is really clear. Right, so first cast I had a squid, second cast I had one touch, I think. Keep it going. Curse of the first cast squid, we call that. Of course, if I had a camera on this, you'd probably see there's squid all over the place. And they're just not taking the lure. We'll do a few more with this lead head on it, and then maybe we'll swap over to just a squid jig on the bottom. Heavier one, sinking one. Luminescent one. Poor Neil's been down here, he's been down here about an hour. He's been trying, he hasn't had one, and I turn up, got myself tackled up, got my ray rods out, and then whacked this out first cast, would you believe? Oh, they're swimming all right. Oh, they're swimming good. Because what's happened is I put the camera on, and it stopped it, killed it dead. So we'll turn the, oh, hello, squid on. Squid on. Squid on. The people say they don't fight, but it's giving an account of itself. Oh, it might be on the top jig. It's interesting to see. The trick is to keep them under tension now, all the way in. Oh, that's a bit bigger. Beauty. That was on the orange rather than the pink. And then, because there's no barbs or anything else, it's just hooked onto these little tiny things. All you do is that, and it drops off. Which is why you've got to be careful when you're winding it in, not to give them any slack line whatsoever, because they will come off. Let's have a look at this squid. It's a beauty. Let's take the camera off the stand. Beautiful colours. Look at that. If you touch them. Now there's two types of squid we get here, and I don't know which type this is. I'll look it up and I'll put it in the comments or on the screen here above it. But yeah, beauty. Right, let's carry on. So the squid, they tend to be swimming along little bunches, so quite often if you get one you'll get another one on the second cast. I didn't that time. But the other thing is that I reckon, and I've got no proof of this, but I've watched the underwater footage, and when a squid realises it's been hooked, or it's suddenly startled by the fact that it can't let go, it will jet out a load of ink. Now that ink will make a big cloud in the water, and I think that the other squid around will realise there's something to be distressed about and will all shoot off. So sometimes, if you don't get one straight away, worth waiting a little while, because you need to get the ink to disperse out of the water. Once it gets darker, I might swap this rod out and put a lighter lure on, because it's not so important to be getting a distance. Not that I'm getting vastly much more distance with this anyway, because the lead isn't very heavy. I'm not really compressing the rod. Although with a longer rod you do feel the fight better. These little weighted jigs actually will be great for fishing off the boat, I reckon. That's a bit better. You've got to make yourself do this draw very slow. Too easy when you get excited to start winding it up too fast. So I reckon one, oh, squid on, no, squid off. Definitely, there's definitely a tug there. I reckon about 10 seconds for quarter of a turn. What we've got going on, we've got a bit of a tanglage going on, so you've got to keep an eye on this. And obviously once it gets dark, you don't want to be shining a headlight onto the water on the one hand, but on the other hand you do need a little bit of light. So this is where this comes in. This is bright enough for me to see what I'm doing, but not bright enough that it's shining great plumes of light onto the water. I think in other situations, I think if you're fishing off a jetty or sometimes off a boat, but jetties in particular, fixed structure, putting a light on the water attracts all the little bait fish, and so it brings the squid. I don't think it necessarily attracts the squid, and I think also the important thing is that you're not moving the light backwards and forwards. You've got some sort of fixed light, and you're not walking backwards and forwards across it in front of it. So if you've got a fixed light, that may well attract the squid, but you don't, on a headlight where you're flashing your head from side to side, you really don't want that, because it will startle them, and they're quite intelligent. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Yeah, this lead is very good, but it's a little bit too sinky, and I don't know if this rod is man enough or whippy enough to cast this out with just a jig on the bottom. So I might well put this rod away and go and get my lure rod out. One more cast and we'll do that. As you can tell, I've got a cold. I went to Wales last week and I was sharing a room with Clint, and the first night he was coughing and sneezing like a good one, and he's given me it. So thank you very much, Clint. Just like to say thank you for that. I would have been down here last night, but for the fact I felt so rough. That, and the fact is I took the dog for a walk at 5 o'clock, and a second's inattention from me. I looked down at my phone, and when I glanced up, he'd gone. He's chasing foxes, and he was gone for 2 hours. So he's in the doghouse at the moment. I think the perfect time for squid bashing is when there's a high tide just after dark, but the water's got to be clear. So you've got to get the weather and the tide and the daylight all tied together. I think if you can get that, you'll have a good night, you'll get a load. As you can see, it's daylight still, or it's still light. It's still light, but the water's gin clear. So we've got two of the things, and actually it's high tide. So we've got high tide and gin clear water, but not the darkness. So we've got 2 out of the 3. But the other night I was down here, and it was mid tide, and I had a 14. In about 90 minutes. So you can't odds that. Right, last cast, then I'm going to go and get my lure rod out of the car. Actually, what I might try is I might try casting this rod with a jig on the bottom. See if it will cast it. It might be too light for it. The other way of doing it, I mean, there's many ways of doing this. The other way, which I saw people doing the other day, is they cast a float out with a jig underneath it, and they're just watching the float. And when the float darts away, they wind into it. Yeah, and when the water's like this and it's nice and calm and the water's gin clear, that's probably a nice lazy way of doing it. Out on the boat, when I've been out on the boat for them, last year and the year before, I couldn't catch a squid, couldn't catch a cold. Certainly couldn't catch a squid, but I was trying to do this technique, sort of sink and draw on the boat. What I've discovered from listening to other people is all you do is you put the jig down on a sort of paternoster, so you've got a lead on the bottom and the lead is just bouncing on the bottom, and then the action of the boat does it for you. And yeah, but I've had a few squid, I've had some cuttle doing that, so that worked. And the other thing that I found working on the boat, which I don't find working on the beach, is you can get squid jigs, or rather you could get squid jigs, but I think they've stopped doing them, that have some sort of a light in them with 2 little terminals stick out the side of the squid, out of the jig, so as soon as they land in the seawater, this little light blinks. Now, try them off the beach, no joy, nothing on them at all. But on the boat, all the squid and all the cuttle I've caught have been on that. So let's just try and put a jig on this and casting this out with a jig on, see if it's a bit slower sink. And then if that doesn't work, we'll go and we'll swap over rods. Right, so I've swapped over to a squid jig that looks like this. Looks like much more like a prawn. It is actually luminescent, so if you shine a torch on it, it will glow. But the other night didn't have a single squid on this, but I wonder if the luminescent didn't draw them in and then they hit the little ones. So we'll have a couple of chucks of that, see how it goes. If I can't cast it because it's too light, I'll swap over to a light lure rod. So let's have a look and see what happens. Oh, I don't know, it goes out all right. Not as far as the lead, but it went out all right. But to be honest, a little lure rod will go that far, and a little lure rod's a bit more fun, as they say. Yeah, it's definitely not sunk and hit the bottom quite so quickly. It's not dragging on the bottom yet. Whoa, squid on! Woohoo! So that might be the secret. It needs to be a little bit slower in the descent. See, wonder which jig it took. Looks like it might be the pink one in the middle. Yeah, it was on the pink. On the pink one in the middle. So I think that might be the secret. Shall I go and swap over to a light lure rod? Yeah, let's go and get a light lure on. So just shake him off into the bucket. And he's in. Oh, that's good shot. I couldn't have done that if I tried. Right, let's turn the camera off. I'll go and get my lure rod. Right, so I've swapped over now to a lighter lure rod. See how this handles these. I don't think this would handle those weights very well, but it should handle these 3 jigs. I think it's a Westin W3, I think. I had a lovely Shimano rod, which I picked up pre-used, but it had been pre-used, pre-loved. I don't think it had ever been used. And it was in the back of my truck, and I was struggling to get some rods in the back on Sunday, and when I came back from fishing on the beach, I discovered it was snapped. So I looked at it online, thought, oh, I'll buy another one of them. 340 quid, maybe not. It hadn't cost me 340 quid, but it would have cost me 340 quid to replace it. And Shimano, unlike Penn, do not sell tips, which is ridiculous. When you, whoa, there we go, straight in. Woohoo! That was right close in as well. Yeah. On the pink jig again. Although it's grabbed hold of the other jig. It's hanging on to, look at this. It's hooked itself on the pink jig, but it's grabbed hold of the bottom jig. Let go. Let go. Here's a good squid. Let go. Right, so it's off the... Did it just ink me, or was that just water? And into the bucket he goes. So that's how many we've had? That's 4 we've had. First cast on this rod. Ah! Something parted then, and the jigs landed on the beach because I heard them land. There they are over there. So, goes to show when you haven't used a rod and line for a while, you check all your knots. Right, let's get it sorted out and get back fishing. I'll turn that off. Right, I don't know why, but that come out of the clip. So maybe it hooked over itself, and when I cast it just pulled out. Keep an eye on that. Because these little jigs are not easy to come by now. Because I think they work, everyone's bought them out. You only got moments inattention when you've got jiggy things. They jig themselves all up and make a mess. So I'm going to be untangling that. I might need to get a proper light on. Right, so this is how to catch squid. We've been down here a while. We've had a few at all the wrong stages. Wrong. You know, good water, good tide, daylight. You need all 3 really. You need it to be dark, high tide and clear water. But we're having a few, and so this is how I do it. Cast out. It's a very, very slow can draw, and here, straight into a squid. How's that, eh? Couldn't have timed that better, could I really? Now I'm fishing with 3 squid lures on here. I've got a heavier weighted one on the bottom, which, oh, and actually that squid was on that. That's a first for me. Normally they come on the non-weighted jigs, but that one fell to the bottom jig. Just like that. So that's how you catch squid. So I've got a weighted jig on the bottom, which is actually slightly luminous, and then I've got 2 non-weighted ones above them. I don't know, about 8 inches apart. And generally the squid come on those 2 floating ones, but that one then came on that, which kind of picked it up on the drop. I don't think it had reached the bottom. And I reckon, you know, anywhere you can be casting into reasonably deep water, and the water is clear, certainly on the south coast, you're going to get them. See if we can do that again. So into the water, and then a very slow retrieve. I'm not letting it sink to the bottom. It's sinking as I'm drawing it in, because I'm drawing it very slowly. Prove that's not a fluke. It's almost dark now. I'm going to have to put a light on. This camera that I'm using is incredibly good in low light. So it looks like it's quite bright still, but it isn't. It's kind of getting quite dark now. I just had to undo a tangle, and I had to have a headlight on to do it. I couldn't see what I was doing. There's an indication how dark it is. I didn't see my jigs come out of the water then, so I didn't get one that time. Earlier on I was using a little light beach caster to cast out a bit further. Now it's getting dark, I don't think it's that important. Very slow retrieve. And wind back into it, and then just let the rod do the work. So that's how we do it. I will film the final results once we've had a few. I've got 2 rods out for rays as well, so this might turn into a how do you catch squid and how do you catch rays video, but at the moment it's how you catch squid. Catch you in a bit. Right, the strangest thing tonight is the last night when I was down here, and earlier on, I was catching them all on that jig. Then I caught a couple on this jig, but all the last few have all come on this jig, and the other night I did not get one on this jig. I haven't illuminated it. It's probably glowing a little bit underwater. Let's just charge it up and see if it makes any difference. If we carry on catching with it, then, or by charging it up, it's obviously luminous, so you have to shine a bright light, or if you've got one, a UV light on it. Let's turn it off. So you should see that glowing. Look at that. So let's see if that attracts them in. We'll try that. I mean, there is some talk that squid see light in a completely different way to the way we do. They're more attuned to UV light. So what we imagine is attractive to them, they can't even see it. I mean, they've got peculiar eyes. Whoa! On and off, on and off. Have good tug then. I wonder which jig it was on. Tangled up. whack it out again. It was a good squiddy tug on it then. Driving along the bottom now. Light is almost gone. I don't know if that camera's actually seeing me. See, that camera shows it as being quite light, but it isn't. It's almost full dark. So I'm going to stop filming. See if we can get one on a charged up squid. I mean, that take I had was on a charge one. Let's charge this up again. Right, so you should see that that's glowing quite well. Whoop, there we go. There we go. That was in close. That was in close. I was bouncing on the bottom. Be interesting to see which jig it's taken. I think it's probably one of the upper jigs. Now, is it that they're hanging around in that shallow water, or is it that they're following the jigs in? Yeah, it's taking the middle jig. It's taking the pink one, which is the one that I put most on. Let's put a bit of light on it so you can see it. There you go. Get it into the range of the camera. There you go, nice little squid. Right, I'm going to stop filming now because I don't want to be flashing lights around on the water. As I say, I'll put the camera on at the end when you can see what the final tally is. Oh, right. Yeah, they do like the old lugworm bass. So anyway, while I'm messing around and losing my jigs because they're not parted, Neil is into a fine bass. Yeah, 40, 45 we reckon.
Yeah, we measured it, it was 45, wasn't it? 44, 45?
Yeah, 45. Yeah,
well,
lovely.
That's the first bass I've had off the beach in years.
Oh right, well it's a nice table size fish if you're going to keep it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, but it's sizable, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, 44 is big enough. So.
Oh, if it was me, I'd be keeping it, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, lovely, well done mate. And the final tally was 30 squid, which is my best squid session on the beach. I do know there were a couple of other people fishing last night who actually caught more, but you know, I'm perfectly happy with 30. And that's my freezer pretty much full. So thanks for joining us, and come and give it a go. Catch you later.